It's time for the Tahryn and Karen Show. Two travel agents. One wild ride.
Hello and welcome to the Tahryn and Karen Show.
I'm Tahryn.
And I'm Karen. And today we're going to talk about what I did yesterday.
What did you do?
Tahryn. Oh my God, it was so fun. So yesterday I did two things,
Okay.
actually. That was some great learning. One, I attended a in-person, not a webinar, an in-person seminar on Las Vegas.
Nice.
And the surrounding areas. Didn't know a lot of things. Like, did you know you can get married on a beach in Vegas? Like outside of Vegas?
Did not know that.
Who would have thought?
Did not know that.
But you can. So for all on a budget that want to get married at the beach, you can actually get married in the US, right outside of Vegas. And then
No
I
passport
also
required.
attended the Midwest Travel Showcase yesterday. So
And where
that
was
was kind
that?
of fun. So that was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I would say there
Okay.
was about 30 to 40 different travel-related businesses there that got to meet with
Awesome.
and learn a little bit more about them. So whether it was like a cruise company or a tour operator or hotels, it was nice to be able to go up and see people face to face, get some
Yeah.
materials, and have
Was it like a
an
trade
actual
show kind
detailed
of thing where you
conversation
could
that
go
would.
around from booth to booth?
Yeah, and I usually scope it out by starting to look at like what tchotchkes people have. Like I like the tchotchkes.
Everybody loves free stuff.
So yesterday there was like this super cool contraption that like is a metal hook that you can hang like your um on like an airplane, and then you can hook your bag to it. Like I don't know what I'm gonna use it for, but I got to.
Wow.
hmm
Okay. Well, on
Yeah,
an airplane, I would
yeah.
imagine.
Yeah, and then I got some good pens too, because let me tell you, vendors give you the best
I
pens.
do love the
Yeah.
pens.
Yes.
Big
But
fan.
now I'm stocked up. So, but it was good. I mean, I actually found some companies I'd never heard from or like ever heard of before.
Okay.
And got to talk with them and get to know them a little bit. And these showcases are where you can really ask people like for help or like, hey, I want to meet with you, and
Yeah.
how can you help me grow my business?
Yeah. Making the
Um,
connections is really important, especially in person and they get to know you get to know them. Even though it's a brief interaction, you have their contact info and you can kind of build that relationship when you get back.
yeah, yeah, it's really nice. I've already received emails already this morning
Wow.
from a few of them wanting to set something up, so that's really
That is
good. That's
great.
positive
So maybe we should spend a
because
little bit of time about, um, what those people that you met, like what their job is in relation to ours.
sure. Yeah, so I primarily met with what we call the BDMs, the business development managers, right? And their job is to really help us grow our business. I know you've got some really great
Yeah.
relationship with your BDMs. I'm fairly new, so I'm learning how they can help me grow my business. But like, how do you interact with your BDM?
Yeah. So, to build on what Karen was saying, BDM, business development manager, they work for either the cruise line, the resort company, tour operators, wholesalers, whatever. And so they're representing businesses that Karen and I book our clients' vacations through. So if you didn't know what that structure was, so those folks are scattered throughout the country, and sometimes it's based on your host agency. Like we're both hosted by different companies, so our host will be assigned a BDM, and then there's some vendors and suppliers that do it based on your geographic location. So for me in New Jersey, Karen in Wisconsin, we might have a local person that is assigned to help us grow our business, and so as Karen mentioned, there are a couple that I have very good, more than a couple. I have good relationships with a lot, but I've been in it a little bit longer than Karen. So, Karen, just to refresh, if you didn't hear our first episode, she's about 2 years in. I'm about 9 years in. Uh, and in the beginning, I think I didn't really leverage them as best I could. And as my business grew and as things evolve, and you start to go on these trainings and you go to things like the travel showcase that Karen went to, you start to get to meet some of these people and understand what they really can do. I think one of the biggest things they help me with is education on their product. So it's unrealistic to expect us to go to every single property frequently, right? We travel a lot, we go and walk resorts, and we do that a lot, but you can't see everything. And so the BDMs, they're the specialists in their particular brand. So whether that's cruise ships or resorts or hotels, they know the latest and greatest. And so it's a great resource to rely on when, for example, I hear clients will come back and say, "Oh, I read all these reviews on TripAdvisor, and they're saying that there's this issue at the hotel. What do you know about it?" And so if I haven't heard about it, I can reach out to that person and say, "Hey, there's some chatter out there about XYZ. What's really happening, and what can I tell my client?" Um, the other thing they do is, like Karen said, you meet with them at least annually. Some of them I meet probably 2 to 4 times a year, depending on the business. And the volume that I do with them, the more volume you do, typically, the more you're touching with them quicker, like you're interacting with them more. And we sit down and we actually talk about business goals. And so, how did I track in sales for that company the year before? How am I tracking this year? What are my growth goals? And then, how am I going to get there? So, they help with marketing ideas, they help with um, you know, images and videos and, kind of the back end support that you need to kind of execute that stuff. And what I think is super helpful is at least when they're the local PDMs, so they're in a region. So like usually my regions like New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, sometimes Delaware, Connecticut, they have access to a lot of agents that are individual businesses like ours. And so they have some knowledge of like so and so seeing this work in their area, you might try it. Or maybe I have to adapt it for my particular area, but it's a fresh idea that maybe I didn't try before.
Yeah, I really look at them as like they're like trusted partners, right? Like they're the ones when you have a question or you just don't know what, like I was bringing up to them that I didn't know what one of their room types was yesterday because I couldn't find it
I
anywhere. And they're like, "Oh,
You
and here's
disappeared for a
here's the
second and now
clientele
you're
that you
back.
should actually be promoting." So, as you were saying, Taryn, the thing that I think is like how I look at the BDM is that they're really our trusted partner, right? Like they're the extension of us. And there was 2 points as you were talking, which was just an amazing explanation of what BDMs do. That is like
Thank you.
perfect. They should like record that and play that to new people coming into the industry because that was spot on. um, but I think it's really the education around the product. Yesterday, I'm gonna, talk about two
Yeah.
examples. One was I was talking to a company and I'm like, I don't know what room type this is. I can't find it on your website. I can't find it on
Yeah.
TripAdvisor. What is this room type and what does it look like? And they're like, oh, it's this and this and this. And oh, by the way, these are the people, like the type of client that you would put in that room. Oh, ding, ding, ding. Like, got it. Now it
Yeah.
makes sense, right? And
Yeah.
also, they're
Yeah.
also like overarching. I'm working with a group right now and I'm trying to figure out, do I want resort A or do I want resort B? And there's pros and
Yeah.
cons to each. And they were like, well, the price is really amazing right now for A, and you might never get that price again because it's a brand new resort. But B is on one of the most beautiful beaches. And if you guys really want a nice beach,
Mm.
you can't really go either
Yeah.
way, but the price is going to be a little bit higher on this one. But, and I was like, oh my gosh, really? Like it's a hard decision still for me to make, but they at least helped me with understanding a little bit more about the properties that I haven't been able to get to yet. Um, and
Yeah.
then I think, the other thing I would just highlight as well is that, yeah, in a lot of cases, as you referenced, we're going to have local and we're going to have national BDMs. And what's great about the local ones is they really know like more about your clientele in the area versus the national team.
Absolutely.
So like because Wisconsin is very different than New York and New Jersey where your clients are coming from, right? So like they're more
Yeah.
specialized in here's some of the trends and stuff that are coming out. Um,
Yeah. I think it's, what Karen's building on is, qualifying your client, and they're arming you with the types of questions that you need to ask your client. So if that particular room that you were talking about at that resort is really kind of that elevated luxury experience with the extra services, the extra amenities, a lot of times it's called club or preferred or whatever they call it, we can better match our clients with the best experience for where they are. So not everybody is ready for that type of experience. Maybe that's a little further down the road, or maybe that client expects nothing less
right.
than that experience, right? So, um, them helping us understand their product and how to position it to our clients is one of the, super helpful things. And one of my favorite questions I love to ask a BDM, especially if I just met them or I'm not super familiar with that particular brand or company, resort, whatever it is, who is your ideal client, and the how do I best position it to that client? And the answer is very interesting. It's very telling. Sometimes it's kind of what I guessed, and then sometimes
Right.
it's not. And you're like, okay, well, this is a whole new you know, brand to look at, and or maybe experience that maybe I didn't know of. Because like I said, we can't know everything.
We
We
try
try
to,
to. We know a
but
little bit
oh my
about
God, there's
we both specialize in certain things, but there's, overall industry knowledge that I think you need to have. And um that whether they're national or local BDMs, one of the things that I also really like to chat about is the
Mhm.
trends that are happening in booking and the market. And so I know what's happening in my space, like my little world of clients. I see, especially
Ugh,
recently, right? It's a lot
crazy.
of people are booking very big trips, very
Yes.
short to departure. So 4 to 6 weeks, we're building out big vacations to Europe and who's going to Thailand, and that's unusual, at least compared to my previous years where those types of trips are planned
Oh,
a year plus
easily.
in advance. So I was on a trip last week with BDMs from one of my suppliers and some of the leadership from that company, and they said exactly the same thing. Like we're seeing people book last minute, what they consider last minute. Last minute to some people might be
Right.
like tomorrow, but for us, it's, when it's a trip with tours and activities and, we need a private boat in Capri and we need this and that and the other thing, that is pretty last minute. So just to hear that you're not
It's
crazy
oh,
sometimes is
it's
helpful.
total validation. I mean, that was part of the conversation yesterday, actually, at the Vegas seminar. Is what we were talking about a little bit there. Is that we're
Yeah.
seeing a hit right now in the United States with travel from different parts of the world, and
Yeah.
yet we also talked about that everyone's going to Europe, but everyone's going to Europe tomorrow, and it's
Yeah.
like I
Yes.
just
That's funny you said that because they literally said the same thing last week, that tourism to the US is down, but we're all still going to
yeah,
Europe
and
this summer.
it's crazy. I mean, typically, I tell my clients, like, you're going to Europe, think minimum 6, 8, 10 months, if not a year, just for
Yeah.
hotels. Like, you want to go to Oktoberfest,
Yes.
right? Like, you better be getting a hotel a year in advance. Um,
Absolutely.
but I am getting okay, 4 to 6 weeks. We want to go here. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's one thing if
Yeah.
you're over in Europe and you're jumping around, but to go from the US across the pond, there is so much coordination, but um
Yeah.
it's crazy. I would also say that, it's been
I
really,
mean, that
really
said, we're making it happen, so
right. Right. And that's what travel agents do, right? We are like, great, we're gonna take care of this and give me a couple days to get it all
we're gonna
figured
figure
out
it out.
and here you go. Um, that's something that's
Yeah.
again the value we bring, right? Like we're gonna find those little niche type of excursions and activities that you can do that you just can't find anywhere else. Or you can possibly, but you're going to spend hours doing it. And by the time you do that, your 4 to 6
Absolutely.
weeks is going to
Yeah.
be up. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So we have, I know I have a roster for, um, so I primarily book honeymoons. If you're new to our podcast, I do a lot of honeymoons, a lot of anniversaries, and then it turns into family vacations, multi-gen, all of that stuff. The bigger the group, so if you have a family of 10 plus people, the harder it is to find space in one hotel for all those people because a lot of those properties in the the popular spots in Italy, Greece, Spain, Portugal, they are not set up for um, large groups. They are small boutique properties, which is under 100 rooms. A lot of times
right,
under 50 rooms. In Greece, sometimes it's 20
right,
rooms or less. And so the earlier you're out there booking things, the better. But when we are in a situation where somebody's like, this is the only time we can go, we have to pull it off in the next, 6 weeks, we know exactly who to talk to and what hotels
yep,
have space, how to accommodate it. And then I do have vendors that I can call on and say, look, I really need to get them into the Vatican.
right,
Can you help me? So those are the types of relationships that start at shows that like Karen went to, the
yep,
Midwest Showcase. You start those relationships there and then you cultivate those relationships so that when you are
yeah,
in a pinch, you you could potentially get some help because in general, I think everybody in this industry really just wants to make their
yes,
client happy and give them the experience that they really want. And so we try to go, I think everybody, at least that I try to work with, is dedicated to that. They're dedicated to my business. I'm dedicated to helping them. It is definitely a mutual
yeah.
relationship. It's not a one-sided thing there. Um,
It,
but their knowledge definitely helps with kind of grounding you in what you're
yeah,
seeing
I
in your
think
own business.
that's the number one reason to stay connected with your BDMs is the knowledge because y- there is
Yeah.
no way if you look at it like I don't even know how many airlines there are across the globe, thousands, right? Like I mean,
Yeah.
look at
Yeah.
and then you take resorts and you're like, "Oh my gosh." And then you've got excursions and all this stuff. I mean, I have notebooks full of notes about different resorts and all this stuff that I constantly am going back to and referring to. And I spend a lot of
Yeah.
my week still doing webinars and trying to keep up with stuff because
Me too.
resorts change things. But that's where also the
We do.
BDMs are the one to go to. And you're like, hey, did this policy change? And they're like, oh, yeah. Yeah. Sorry. You might want to know that. Oh, yeah. That's super important. So I'm,
Yes, good to know. Yeah, I keep notes on my phone in
yeah,
the notes app. As I'm touring a property, I'll jot down some notes so that I could go back and reference things. I try to take pictures of certain things, like on a resort tour, if there's something that I really need to remember, like, and it's picture worthy. I might not ever share
right.
that with, social media or anything, but it's more for me to remember certain things. Um, because, there is such a volume of information. We get emails from, these companies almost every single day. And sometimes it's hard to sit and look at every single email while you're going through your own client
Right.
emails and servicing bookings. So that's where those webinars, which I still sit in probably at least 3 or
Yep.
4 a week, from different companies, different vendors, just to keep the product
Right.
knowledge up, especially when there's a new property coming online or coming out and we really, nobody's been there, nobody knows anything about it yet. Like that's the way that you learn. And, they're charged with goals from their company to grow business in their region. So whether that's national or like a local market, they have targets. So they're trying to reach their targets by helping us. We're trying to reach our business goals by helping our clients. So it's a very
Yeah.
back and forth
Absolutely. Like
relationship.
I would highly encourage everyone anytime you can get to a showcase, take that part of your day and go and make that one-on-one
Yeah.
connection because emails and phone calls are great,
Yeah.
right? But human like interaction when you can be in front of someone,
Yeah.
like yesterday I was able to put a face with a name. And that to me is huge. And
Yeah.
now they're like, oh, now
Valuable.
I know who Karen Walls is. I was like, well, you will know me because of my podcast. But um
I'm famous.
I'm part of the Tahryn and Karen Show. But,
So
like, come on. But it was nice to do that,
they don't know you already. I
right?
mean, come on.
What is going on? And they will. I told her we're gonna be besties, so just hold the phone. Um,
Yeah.
but that it is super important. And the other nice thing too is that I didn't. This sounds kind of weird. It's like confessions coming from Karen. Um, I didn't feel
Uh-oh.
so alone yesterday. Like I sit at my office and I'm working
Yeah.
at home. My office is out of my house, and I'm working on stuff for clients.
Yeah.
And clients don't want to talk to us; they just want to text and email, which is fine, fine. But yesterday I was like, oh my gosh, I can talk to other people who are like me,
People.
and they're seeing the same thing. And I learned some things yesterday, even
Yeah.
from some other agents. So,
That's actually so going back to how we met, like we met at a
mhm,
conference where I think we both met a lot of great agents on that
yep,
trip and collaborated on different things that are working for us while we were learning, things from the different vendors. So that one I think had about say 15 different companies that were brought in to kind
yep,
of talk about their wedding programs and vow renewals and all of that, honeymoons, romance travel in general. But making those connections in the
trade,
industry definitely helps you feel less
yes,
alone. Like Karen and I, we stayed in touch since
hmm,
we went on that trip. It was like
yep,
December, I think we
December,
went. Um, and just, kind of kept in touch because it's good to have somebody while we're running our own businesses. It's nice to have somebody to bounce an idea off of, or like, hey, what's working for you here? Have you tried this? Have you been here? And the more you grow that network, the more people you
yep,
have to ask. And I feel like as long as you're um participating back, like if you're asking questions and they're giving you answers, and then when they come to you and they ask you a question, you're giving
yes,
them information back, that relationship continues, and kind of a little bit more about each other and like what your style is, and what, like if I say I love a property, you can guarantee it's
right,
a good property. If I say it's okay, it's a good property. Like you get to know like everybody's
right.
nuances. Like there's some people who are always gonna say everything is great, every single place they've ever went
Everything
to is
is not
great.
great. No,
Not true.
there
It's
there are
not
some
true.
bad places out there. Bad.
Yes. Which, like, but bad is in the eye of
True,
the beholder
true.
sometimes, right? If you just have
And
a really bad experience or whatever. But in general, there are hotel ratings for a
yes,
purpose, right? Like a 1 star and a 5 star are
and
two very
and
different
right, and pay
experiences.
attention to those people. Pay attention. Like, they mean something, right?
They do mean something. And there are some outliers where maybe you'll have a 3 star or 3.5 star property that really operates more like a 4, 4.5. And those are the ones that we try to, or at least I try to uncover, especially in Europe when I have more budget conscious
Yes,
couples or families, or they're trying to see a lot on a, they're maybe going for 2 weeks and we're trying to make all the numbers work. Sometimes I need to dip into those properties that are maybe a little bit cheaper, but they're still going to be a solid experience. And so um kind of having that knowledge is helpful, and if you haven't always, like I said, been everywhere, you have a bunch of people that you can
right.
tap into.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to Romance Travel Forum in a few weeks. That will be first week of June. I asked Karen to go, she didn't want to come with
My
me.
daughter's just getting home from Spain. I could not leave
I
her.
know, I'll allow
I
it,
could not
but
leave her.
we were going to do our first remote
Yeah.
podcast from Cancun, but that's going to have
Now we're
to
gonna have to
wait.
wait.
But I do know some people going, so I do have some built-in friends. But looking forward to meeting, new people, a lot of BDMs. So this is almost like BDM speed dating. I
Oh
don't
my
know if
gosh.
you've been to anything
That's
like
crazy.
this. So similar to the trade show, but different, where you're going to have, I think it's a minimum of 20 meetings with different suppliers. And so before the conference, like I had to write a little bio about myself that was due by Friday. And then I have to go in and select out of this list of like, I think it's like 50 different ones, who I want to meet with and like rank them. Like, this is my first choice, this is my second choice. And then the suppliers do the same thing. And then it's like Tinder for
Right,
travel.
dinner for travel agents. Well, I we're gonna spend an entire segment talking about that because that sounds like we can have
Yeah.
some fun with that one.
Right. And so then you see, like, you get the reveal, like who you matched with. And then so you have like, I think it's 2 full days of like just going from table. I don't know if we stay in place and they move around, or they stay in place and like
Yeah.
we move around. I have a feeling they probably stay and then we have to go around to all different ones. And like we get divided up into groups. I think it's like 100 and something travel agents, and then there'll be like different groups. And so we're
Oh
all
my god.
moving
Oh my god.
around.
I cannot wait
So
to hear about it.
I know, I was supposed to go right after COVID, but we were still testing to come back. And my husband came down with COVID. So I'm like, I'm not risking, like, if I get it, I'm going to get stuck
Yeah.
in destination. So I backed out of that one. But now I'm finally able to go again. I'm very much looking forward to it. It's at Ava Cancun, which I have not been to.
Uh, that is one that's on my list. So I want details.
Yes, it's getting a lot of attention for weddings. A lot of people are interested in weddings. I have a wedding there in September. I have another couple that's going to look at it over Memorial Day weekend to potentially book their wedding there. Um, a friend of mine from my consortia, so earmuffs Karen, I have another friend. Honey,
Perfect.
that I met. She's from my host and from my consortia. We're gonna go in early on our own, and we're gonna tour, I believe, 4 or 5 resorts the day
Wow.
before. And then during the conference, we have all these speed dates, and then at night they're taking us to like the mock ceremony, the
Okay.
mock reception. Let's go see this resort and whatever.
Very fun. But remember, I was your original wedding date. Okay? Just always
Oh,
remember.
absolutely. Absolutely. And then I come back on I want to say a Saturday, and I have a bridal show on Sunday.
You're gonna rock it. You're gonna rock it.
I'll be like
Oh,
this. Hi.
one of these we should talk about bridal fairs and like how to market bridal fairs because
Absolutely.
I just attended a actually really good seminar earlier this week. Got a couple good
Okay.
tips that, honestly was like a couple of them like, duh, that is so smart. And a couple I was like,
Yes.
ding, 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 there's a winner. Why am I not doing that? So
I think that might be our next episode
yeah.
because I have done some training for other agents around how I run bridal shows, but I would love to hear what you're hearing because, like I said, I'm prepping for one now. I have to have everything prepped before I leave for
Oh my
travel
God.
forum,
Oh
romance
my
travel
God,
forum.
girlfriend. Good luck.
So
Next
next
time,
time,
we'll see you at the next Tahryn and Karen Show.
have a
Thanks, you
great
too. Bye
day.
bye.
See you next time for another episode. The Tahryn and Karen Show is presented by Shore to see vacations and walls-to-walls travel.